This, this is why I keep coming back to these paints. They practically paint themselves. Texture, mood, magic, no extra effort needed. Let me show you the handful of paints that I can't stop using. Cue the Julie Andrews moment, because these few colours are on my skirt twirling, hills are alive list of favourite things. I'll spare you the singing, but I'm always happy to add something to my list of favourite things. It's a bit of a life goal to keep making that list as long as possible. How long's yours at the moment? Watching beautiful watercolour pigments disperse on the page has always lifted my spirits, but these granulating pigments take it to a whole new level. Now, just for fun, I have created a little bit of a grid on my page by taping it up with some washi tape that I can remove very easily, because I want to have a bit of a play in these little squares, doing some little sort of abstract pieces that are just a chance for me to watch the pigments and see what sort of effects I get. It's a marvellous way to fill up a page, and a great thing to do in your sketchbook if you've got a sketchbook that's got nice watercolour paper in it. The first colour I'm showing you here is a Daniel Smith colour called Green Apatite Genuine. This is the latest addition to my favourite paint colours, and it's one I keep reaching for because it's a really natural green, which is sometimes quite hard to come by in a set of pre-mixed greens out of a tube. You know, normally we mix them up with our yellows and blues to get the colour that we like. And very often it can be a bit too much of a vibrant neon kind of kiddie green, but this is a lovely, rich, deep olive. But as you can see, what happens when it interacts with water on the page is it separates out, and magically you have this wildly vibrant neon green, as well as the rich dark olive and a little bit of a rich brown as well. And that's the magic of these granulating pigments. If you're not familiar with granulating pigments, they are simply paints that have been made by the manufacturer by mixing a range of particular colours together, and because of the particular pigments that they have chosen, they will react in fascinating ways when they interact with the water. So very often they will split out, like you can see this one do, and so it becomes multiple colours in one. So even though I've only had to get out one tube of paint, I've already added a whole lot of extra layers of colour and interest into this painting. It's a whole lot richer than if I had just used a flat plain green, for example. And the other thing that happens with the granulating pigments is that you actually get a bit of texture. You can see here with the Green Apatite Genuine that it's not just the separate colours. There is also the odd little patch of a really interesting texture. And I've reached for this colour all the time when I'm painting landscapes and florals and trees and that sort of thing, because it's often just what you're looking for. A little bit of a rich earthy brown, a bit of texture, as well as the fresh vibrant shots of green every so often as well. The second colour I'm painting with here is another Daniel Smith colour called Cascade Green, and this one is much more blue toned. Because this one's got so much more blue in it, I often use it if I'm trying to push a part of the painting into the background. So, for example, if I want to paint some more distant shrubbery, or if I have hills and mountains in the background, because I know this is automatically going to give me much more of a bluer toned green, and that coolness is going to really convey the idea of that part of the painting representing something that's much further in the distance. Where I find Cascade Green always shines is when I'm painting the ocean, because it splits into the yellows and blues that give you wonderful range of colour for painting any sort of ocean scene. That I really love about both of these green colours, and that is the range of tone that you're able to get out of just the one colour. It's something that's true of all watercolour paints, that we can get a wide range of tone out of it just by adding more water, because the more water we add, the more of the white paper we see through the transparent paint. But this range in the values that you can get out of the one colour is more pronounced if you start with a really dark colour. Both the Green Apatite Genuine and the Cascade Green are really rich, deep, dark greens if you have them nice and thick. You know, if you put a consistency on your brush that has very little water, you'll find that that can put in a really nice, strong, effective dark for you. But you can also see that I like to use these colors for the most palest hint of color into something like the suggestion of a sky, just by putting the tiniest drop of the paint in a little bit of water. I can have a tiny bit of tone in the background, which gives me, you know, it almost feels like a whole new different color. So those are two of my absolute favorite greens. And the third paint that I have to share with you is Moonglow. It's another Daniel Smith one, and it is a purple. It's a bit of a running joke in the Happy Painters Hub membership that I don't seem to be able to create a single painting without using Moonglow. It's one of my favorite colors. Admittedly, I'm a bit of a purple nut, so anything that's purple I absolutely love, but this is a kind of subtle, muted gray purple. But even better than that, it actually separates out into lots of wonderful colors too. You can't really see the sort of thing I'm describing in this first little painting that I've done here of this clump of grasses. And I think that's because I didn't really use enough water. So what's happened is it's just given me a very even kind of wash of the gorgeous purple gray. It's such a beautiful color, and I use it so often when I'm painting shadows because I like to use it as a shadow if I'm layering a shadow over something I've already painted, a shadow on a path or something like that. But you can see in the second little square that I'm painting here, where I've got a lot more water in it, how this color will separate out. It's amazing that out of that purple you get these little shots of a red color and even a pale light dusky blue, as well as that rich deep dark purple that's almost close to a Payne's gray. It's like a really warm Payne's gray. So these fun little squares I've been painting, they sort of can suggest a tiny abstract landscape scene or a seascape scene. And it's amazing to me to think that I've only used a single color in each one of them. And this last one with the Moonglow in the bottom corner feels to me like sort of a stormy sky, little hints of maybe sunset and some storm clouds in there. And really all I did was splash in a bit of water and drop in the color and then stand back and let the magic Moonglow do its work. One of the keys, I think, with using these paints is to remember to be patient enough to let the paint do its thing. When you first put down these washes, sometimes it doesn't look like anything much is happening, but if you leave it and let it dry on its own, then you start to see these beautiful effects occurring. You can see here the difference once the grid is finally dry, that you can really start to see those separations and the lovely granulation effects. Now for the part we all love. Why is it so satisfying to see that tape peel off and reveal those crisp white borders? I think the tape peel might just be almost as fun as creating the little paintings in the first place. Now, these paints certainly aren't something that you absolutely need, but they might just be the little joys that you might love, especially if you paint for the fun of the painting process, not just for the final output. Although, as you can see, there's payoff from both of those with these particular colors. They add interest and life to your painting, and there's every chance they're going to surprise and delight you along the way. So if you're looking for a little creative treat, this might just be the next addition to your paint palette. Do you have any other favorite granulating watercolor paints? Drop them in the comments and let me know. I'd love to find a new one. Now, if you enjoyed watching these paints play on the page, you're probably wondering how to actually go about incorporating them into your next painting. Learning to let the paints do some of the work is really a good portion of loosening up your watercolor painting. I'm always trying to paint a little bit looser, and I find that very often it actually just comes down to a mindset thing. I made another video all about that. It's the one I've popped up on the screen. So if you want some help embracing the loose, playful approach, that's the video you'll want to watch next.